Welcome to the Fishbowl Radio, everybody. My name is Chief here, and joining me today is Jalen. We're doing our Louisiana Ragin Cajun versus Troy preview here as we look ahead to Saturday's matchup in Veterans Memorial Stadium in Troy, Alabama. The Cajuns go on the road to take on Troy. And also, we have Louisiana Ragin Cajun men's basketball. They had a very, they couldn't just close it out against Toledo. We'll recap what happened in that game. They do have a game coming up on Wednesday against Louisiana Christian. Then they got a game next Monday against Wright State. And then after that, we got Louisiana Ragin Cajun women's basketball team. They took on Auburn and Kent State. They just couldn't get it done against either one of them. And then Cajuns there got Nichols and Xavier University as well. Nichols, they take on them Saturday. And Xavier, they take them on next Tuesday. So without further ado, introduce everybody to Jalen. How you doing today, Jalen?
I'm doing well, Chief. Better than I thought I would be since that Thursday night game, seeing the Cajuns lose to Southern Miss. But they still have time to get that bowl game. But we're gonna see how things play out.
Yeah. I was at the game. That's where all the videos were coming from, and let me just say I'm extremely disappointed. There is no excuse for it to play that terribly, right? It was just not. If you looked out on the field and you watched everybody that was playing the game out there, the Cajuns had the better talent. They were the more talented team. Like it was just you could tell, like just by the way the line was blocking and receivers getting open, there was missed opportunities. There was one video where we have put on Instagram where it hit the guy right in the hands, could have walked into an end zone for a touchdown. Like just it was stuff like that. Not to put on the player that we had a video of. It was just one of many instances going on. Of course, with the interception that they had in Southern Miss territory that they didn't get a touchdown on because he fumbled the ball in the end zone. You see, just minor mistakes like that. Like that should have been a pick six every day. The referees definitely. I don't know how he didn't get in the end zone there. Cabody was definitely in the end zone. I saw that right there. He definitely broke the plane. The one on the corner is kind of questionable here. I looked at it frame by frame. Since they ruled him out at the one, I think that's why they stuck with the call. But I was thinking right when it happened, that's a touchdown. It looked like a touchdown but when you look at it frame by frame, it definitely looks like a touchdown. Because the way he's moving the ball, he's caught it behind him right here. He's got it in his left hand, and then he's moving it slowly, and he's backing up at the same time. The angle of where I was at was I was in the upper deck, the general admission seating, and I was looking down. Man, my phone has 100 times zoom, so I could zoom in probably further than any iPhone possibly can. So I was able to piece it together frame by frame of what's going on. We're going to show you this on the podcast here. As we got that video pulled up here of what's actually going on here. If you can see it here, it's frame by frame. If you slow it down here, you can see the details. And it looks like to me that it's a touchdown, the way I see it. So the Cajuns just they lost 34-31. They should have easily won this game. Southern Miss was only 2-6 entering this. 2-7 entering the game. And now Southern Miss won, so they're 3-7 now. And with this schedule, I've said it many times before this year that they should have been. The floor was 8-4. They should not have gotten lower than 8-4. Now I got concerns whether Desormeaux is the right guy to lead the Cajuns football program or not, which is very warranted. You look at what's been out there on the field. The Cajuns have lost 3 of their last 4 games, losing Georgia State, beating South Alabama, losing to Arkansas State, and losing to Southern Miss. Now you got to win. You either got to beat Troy or you got to beat ULM to be a bowl eligible team here. They're asking a lot, and we'll see what happens. But Jalen, what you think about what happened Thursday night?
I think, like you said, Chief, it's a lot of missed opportunities. I mean, going forward a couple times on fourth down, didn't get anything, came up with no points. The interception that should have happened didn't happen. A lot of punts throughout the game. I just think that the Cajuns really kept Southern Miss in the game. And as we kind of mentioned off the air before, Frank Gore is Southern Miss's offense. I mean, he's a great player. Don't get me wrong, but they really only need the game plan for one guy. Like I would make Southern Miss beat me through the air. Now they were doing that a couple of possessions that they scored touchdowns on, but throughout the game it was free feed Frank Gore, and Frank Gore's just running all over the Cajuns. But it's crazy how through all of that and a couple of missed calls that we thought that were touchdowns, but that the ref said it wasn't. The Cajuns should have won this game, but I thought once they kicked that field goal in overtime, I'm like, defense got to step up. They stepped up a little bit, but then the flag came in for pass interference, and the ball got put, I think, on maybe the 2 yard line, and Frank Gore ran it in. That was it. That was it. Southern Miss is just stomping, not stomping, but they're cheering right there on our home turf. The Cajuns should have never lost this game. I don't think they should have lost to Arkansas State, and now they're on a losing streak that it's not going to get any better. I mean, I talked about this, Chief, and you know what I said. Like these games coming up, they have to win. And Troy went from trying to in the middle of the pack. Now they're number one in the West, and they're leading it by 2 games. Like all Troy has to do is beat the Cajuns, and it looks like they'll lock up the Sun Belt West. And the Cajuns were right there. But again, missed opportunities, bad plays by both sides of the ball. It's not looking good for the Cajuns right now, and they have to regroup against Troy. And you'll find out my Cajun word of the week, specifically for this matchup against Troy.
Yeah, so there's a lot of redemption. Now you got to be able to make plays for your team. Now it's got to be somebody's got to come up and make a play. Whether like the Cajuns were tackling very good, and I don't know what's happened the last 2 games, wrapping up. No one's wrapping up. They're just kind of trying to shoulder tackle people, kind of knocking them around and just see like, let's see if we knock them out of bounds at this point. But no, like wrapping up has to be priority whenever you're trying to tackle somebody because if you're not wrapping up, getting your arms around somebody, maybe like even if you're not the best tackler, I mean somebody else is gonna come on there and you can basically bull rush somebody, knock them over. But this tackling has been poor the last 2 games. That's something you have to really stress with your team here. Whether you got to go out there and it's Frank Gore was Southern Miss's offense. I think you definitely hit the nail on the head right there when you said that because he's the focal point. He's a great running back. They're not to take anything away from what Southern Miss did. They ran the ball very effectively against the Cajun defense. So I think it's something like goes along the lines of that, right? So if I was the Cajuns, I would have basically almost blitzed every single play because like you said, beat me through the air, take your shots and your opportunities when you can if you're Southern Miss to beat us through the air there. But look, that's just part of the game, right? You have to strategize and be efficient and play 4 quarters worth of football, and the Cajuns haven't done that. There's only 1 game this year that they played 4 quarters of football, and I think it was the South Alabama game if I remember right. There's only been one. There's only one of them that I know of that I could think of on the top of my head. I think it was the South Alabama game. But then again, South Alabama was actually moving the ball on our defense though too. If it wasn't for turnovers, might have actually lost that one too. Very good possibility. Turnovers definitely helped Cajuns out that game. So that's just issues I have with it. It's rough. So now you got to look ahead to Troy. And Troy, they locked up the Sun Belt West. I think this past Saturday they did. They clinched them a spot in the Sun Belt Championship game. So now that brings up a whole nother debate. Should James Madison actually be allowed to compete for the Sun Belt title? I mean, we've kind of talked about this for a little bit here. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Sun Belt championship game, which the Cajuns will play Troy on NFL Network. So it's going to be out and about. It'll be good to see how all that unfolds and everything else. So we'll see. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up because Troy's 5-1. They got a 2-game lead on Texas State, who they ended up beating. And the only 2 teams that Troy has left, which is how they clinched it, they got Louisiana and that Southern Miss. So even if they lose both those games, They have wins over Texas State, Arkansas State, and the South Alabama. So there you go. They got the Sun Belt West clinched, and they won their last 7 games. You just gotta wonder. Like I'm really worried. The Cajuns are 2-4 in Sun Belt play. They're gonna probably be 2-5 by the time that all the zeros hit on the fourth quarter on Saturday. So 2-5, definitely trending in the wrong direction. It's not something you want to say, but you got to be realistic and you got to look at what's going on and with the platter you've been dealt with here. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The schedule that the Cajuns had this year was extremely easy. And for us to be sitting there 5-5, I got my doubts. And I've made that known on this podcast. And there's some people like you gotta like take your rose colored glasses off, okay? Because sometimes, like I've said this before, and I'll say it here, I'll put my neck on the line here. Sometimes football players don't be great football coaches. They just don't. There's a bunch of examples of it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just something that happens. Sometimes, like, you can know a lot about a subject, but not know how to be a teacher. Like, if I knew a lot about, let's see, if I knew a lot about history, okay, and I was trying to teach somebody about history, but I couldn't accurately get it to where it would seep into their brain to understand what I'm talking about and how they learn that subject, they're gonna probably miss a couple of things. It happens. It's just the way it is. Some like levels and dynamics of playbooks and stuff. It's a lot of information to take in, and you gotta have a great supporting cast. Maybe it's not Des. Maybe it's the cast, the supporting coaches themselves. Because Napier had a great staff with him. I'm just saying, I think that they look at the staff maybe this offseason and maybe like, look, y'all go because results matter. This is college football. Results matter, and you got to get the job done. So, Jalen, what you think? Do you think Des is the guy to lead the Cajuns within the next 3 or 4 years?
I think he can be the guy. I think it was a smart move because he makes great decisions. Like when Ben got hurt, I think it was a smart move putting Zion in there, a guy who in the summer was getting first team reps, well, getting all first team reps because Chandler and Ben were both out with injuries. And then when it came to Ben getting hurt in the regular season, he put Zion in. It added a new element to the quarterback position, and it helped the Cajuns get wins, and the offense just looked better. So I think Coach Dez has made a lot of smart decisions. Now I think some of the play calling comes into question a little bit, but I mean I think besides that, I think he can be the guy. Now, like you said though, a lot of players ended up being coaches, and we've seen in the past a lot of them don't work out. But I think Dez can be the guy, but losing to Southern Miss doesn't look good. And I think no one expects the Cajuns to beat Troy because Troy's top 10 and won the Sun Belt last year. But ULM right now is sitting at 0-7 in the Sun Belt. They are 2-8 on the season. You have them coming up senior night in a couple weeks. And that's probably going to be the game where you either get a B Bowl eligible or you don't, and you're done for the season. And if they lose this game to ULM, it's it's not going to be good for Dez at all. I think everybody's going to be calling for him to be out of there. I think so. After that, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it happen. I really don't. I think he's a good coach, but you have to win. You have to be bowl eligible to at least say, hey, I got this team to a bowl game. So now next year, watch what I can do when I have a quarterback in Zion Chris who plays for a whole season once he comes back from injury.
I think the question I think that needs to be answered with it is because there's been talk, and it's been coming from the fans in the stands and stuff like, oh, we need to get rid of Desormeaux. Like it's being said real loud, and there's like at least the numbers have been growing every single Saturday. Whenever I'm walking out of Cajun Field or Thursday or like Thursday night, at least 3 or 4 or 5 people. And whispers are starting to whisper a little bit, and people are getting tired of waiting. So, that's the question. How much time do you give him? And I think the question we need to ask ourselves as a fan base is what's the standard of Raging Cajun football? Like, it's not like did Desormeaux inherit like I think the standard has to be there. Like what is the foundation built? Like where are you what is the expectation for this team every single year? It doesn't matter what year it is. If we have a down year, we need to be doing this. Do you think making a bowl game every year is what the standard should be, Jalen?
Oh no, I think getting a bowl game is just step one. Step two is trying to go beyond a bowl game. Step two is trying to get to that Sun Belt championship game every year and winning it and getting a bigger bowl than what you would get just by being bowl eligible. I think the standard has always been, oh, you get these 6 wins, we get a bowl. We want more than 6 wins. We want to go undefeated. We want to lose one game. We don't want to. We want to go undefeated in the Sun Belt. I think your
I think that
expectations have to be higher.
I think that like the general synopsis I think I'm trying to say is what do you think? Like if I think if you had to like say if you had like a worst case scenario, if you had to pick out of anything like that would keep a coach employed by UL, what would you think the result would be?
Oh yeah, then to
That you
answer that question, yes, to get a bowl game. Because if a coach is, you think coach's job is on the line, and he has that meeting with whoever, and they'd be like, "Okay, coach, like, what have you done for the team?" Well, I've gotten to a bowl game the last 4 years. Well, you can't say because a lot of coaches don't get their players to bowl games, and the fact that the coach said, "Oh, I got 6 wins. I'm bowl. We're bowl eligible." It might not be the best bowl compared to the national championship, but look at this. I got this team to a bowl game. And if they win the bowl game, that's even better. So I think getting to a bowl game is that's what the answer is to your question right there, Chief.
okay. So as we look ahead to the game against Troy, um, Troy's got a good defense. And that is one thing that if you look at what's been going on with Sunbelt, that defense of Troy is pretty good. Troy's got a good offense, and they know how to run, they know how to pass here. So if we look at we're gonna look at some statistics here for Sunbelt here. Troy leads the league, the Sunbelt Conference in total defense. The Cajuns are ranked number 6 in total defense. In scoring offense, Troy is behind the Cajuns. The Cajuns are ranked 5th, and Troy's ranked 7th. So if you keep looking down this list and scoring a defense, Troy's number 1 there. Total offensive plays. The Cajuns have ran the second fewest offensive plays in the entire um, league. ULM is the only one they beat. Like if you look at everything, ULM's at the bottom of all these lists here. Like the only one scoring defense, ULM's just ahead of Southern Miss. That's it. So touchdown score. Let's see here. I'm gonna go scroll this down a little bit here so we can kind of see what's going on. I want to look at third downs because third downs are very big in determining how good you've been doing. Third down in red zone. The Cajuns have a problem in the red zone. They seem they can't be able to score in the red zone when they get down in there. That's something that Georgia Southern has the most interceptions. Troy has the least. They have 4. Cajuns have 8. It's like let's see, pass completions, passing yards. I want to see third down efficiency. Field goals attempted. They're at the second least amount. Kick returns, kick return touchdowns. The Cajuns are third in that one. That was a very cool kickoff return for a touchdown that we saw on Thursday night as well. Really got the crowd into it, that's for sure. Interception return. I'm trying to see. Fumble turnover margin is one I want to look at too because the Cajuns they're -2 in turnover ratio here. Troy, like I said, great teams. They don't turn the ball over. Troy's at a +3 in the turnover margin. ULM's +3 as well. So you're not going to get many opportunities to make plays there. The Cajuns have 11 fumbles and 8 interceptions. They have 19 turnovers in 10 games. Whereas Troy has only 14 turnovers in 10 games. They've fumbled 10 times. And the Cajuns have fumbled the most in Sun Belt Conference play, tied with Texas State. So that's one they're gonna have to look at, and hopefully they can get third down conversions. It's finally way at the bottom of this list here. So This is something I want to take a good look at because this is one that's going to determine if you're very good here. The great teams usually are around 40 to like 60% on third down. So Georgia State's 46%. The Cajuns are at 40%. Troy's just ahead of them at 41.1%. So but Troy's had a lot more attempts than the Cajuns. They converted 60, they attempted 146. The Cajuns are 52 and they attempted 130. So Troy usually they seem like let's see, they have 206 first downs. The Cajuns are on at 201. And you can see like passing and running here opponent third down convert rate. So this one's interesting. So the Cajuns defense is toward the bottom of the Sun Belt and allowing drives to continue on third down. They're allowing 41%. Georgia State, Texas State, and UAM's the only one that's allowing more. Troy's the best in the conference, 28.89%. So yeah, Troy's defense, if in case you haven't noticed, they're very good. So fourth down when the game's on the line, Cajuns they give up the first down 73% of the time. Troy only gives it up 29%. They're on opposite ends. The Cajuns are worse in the Sun Belt in that category. So, Jalen, knowing all that information, what you think heading into the game? Who you going to go with?
My my heart wants me to go with the Cajuns, but I know my mind is telling me that excuse me, that Troy's defense is tops in the Sun Belt. Their offense is pretty balanced. The Cajuns are going to have a tough time on the road. I'm gonna have to go with Troy on this one. They're too good of a team. They're on a 7-game winning streak for a reason.
Yeah, I'm agree with you there. I think Troy gets the job done against the Cajuns here. Like if this was a game that the Cajuns would win and stun everybody, this is the one that they would play to the level of their competition. So, I think like Troy's defense is just good. Like they're only allowing less than 30% conversion rate on third down. It's going to be really tough on the occasion to continue to sustain drives. Now, I think the Cajuns are going to try to force turnovers if they can to beat Troy, but I just don't see it happening. There's a reason why Troy is as good as they are this year. So this is the one we're going to look at and see what's going to happen later on in the future. So we'll see what happens and just go on from there. All right, switching gears here. Louisiana Ragin Cajun men's basketball is going to take on Louisiana Christian on November 15th, Wednesday. And then November 20th, they'll take on Wright State. So, Jalen, the Cajuns lost to Toledo. And I've noticed something through the first two games. The Cajuns don't really have that dominant inside presence that you would expect to have. Right now, Cajuns are live RPIs at 127, but they're not as dominant inside as they were last year with the absence of Jordan Brown feeling to be a very good force down there for the Cajuns, getting rebounds and getting putbacks and stuff like that there, and keeping the Cajuns keeping that scoring prowess. But Folks is doing a very good job, being a very good point guard for them, dishing the ball out to his guys, Kobe Julian and among the other ones here, Karen Crow Joe. What you think, Jalen, as something you saw against Toledo?
Something I saw against Toledo was Themis Folks is shooting the ball a lot more. I think he sees this year as you don't have that presence in Jordan Brown, and then Greg Williams Jr. is gone. You're one of your top shooters. I really think Demus Folks is taking it to more. He needs to shoot more. See, last year he was more of a point guard where he'll get the assists, he'll go out there and try to get you a rebound, but he wouldn't shoot a lot. I think this year he wants to be the point guard that not only distributes the ball but also can shoot the ball because he had 25 points in this game against Toledo. He had 20 in the game against Youngstown State. I just think the Cajuns they need, like you said, they need that presence inside. I mean, yeah, you have a lot of shooters. You got a lot of guys playing hard, which is like like you said, Karen Crow Joe. He's a great player. Kobe Julian is a great player. He's always been a great player, but injuries have we haven't seen him play the last couple of years because of injuries. But now he's playing. He's playing pretty well. I just think that the team needs some more size inside, and I think That's what come to hurt them against these big time Sun Belt teams when it comes to conference games and also the conference tournament if they expect to repeat as conference champions.
Now, I have noticed this though. Like there's times, right? Like you'll develop newer guys as the season goes along, and like unfortunately injuries happen, and some guys might step up that you don't normally expect to step up there. But having a dominant inside presence definitely gives that defense something to worry about. If you work in and out, back and out, and really spreads the defense thin, you may be dumping inside. That working in and out really does a very good job at exploiting weak points in the defense. You're able to get 3-point shots off that way. So, and the Cajuns have some good 3-point shooters. So it's just going to be whether they can get that inside force that they need to really put an emphasis on scoring here. But the good thing for the Cajuns is this is a couple of tune-up games they have here. So RPI, I'm gonna mention it. It's not important right now because RPI is crazy at the beginning of every season, whether it's women's basketball, men's basketball, softball, or baseball. RPI is crazy within. You don't get a good RPI sample until you're like 15, 20 games in, then you're like, okay, this is what we're working with. But I'll mention it because it's something to keep track of to see how much they're jumping. Like, look, this one here dropped them down by 87. That live RPI update, 87. So 127 or like 50, I think. And that's what one loss will do to you. So Louisiana Christian, I think they'll beat them. They should be an easy win for the Cajuns. Wright State, I got them beating them as well. I think they'll take both those games there, and they'll get ready to play Loyola on November 27th. And then they got Sanford, who's 0-2 as well. Then they got Louisiana Tech on December 9th. So it's going to be a fun one to see. The Cajuns will be on the road for both those games, but having those kind of stays there is something to see. So Louisiana Christian, Wright State, I got them winning. Who you got out of those two, Jalen?
Yeah, I got Louisiana taking both of those games, and like you said, these are kind of tune-up games to where they should beat these teams very easily. They get to see Bob Marlin gets to see what his team is made of, what different lineups he could use for certain situations. So I think the Cajuns will come out with some wins, and I'll build some confidence for this team that has a couple new players that are trying to get adjusted to the Cajun lifestyle.
Yeah, so we're gonna switch gears here. The Cajuns had a very close loss to Louisiana Ragin Cajun women's basketball team had a very close loss to Auburn. Auburn is 3-0. And Kent State as well, 64-55. And the Cajuns lost to Auburn 60-54. So far, the Cajuns are 1-2 so far on the year. Their only win of the year is against Spring Hill. They're going to take on Nichols Saturday. Then they take on Xavier next Tuesday. So we'll pick both those games here. Like what I mean by RPI being crazy, look at the RPI of Nichols. They're an RPI of 17 right now. Whereas the Cajuns have an RPI right now of 272, according to live RPI update. But we'll see. I got the Cajuns winning both those games there. Tamara Johnson has been leading the way for the Cajuns this season. I expect her to continue here. So we'll see what happens. And then they got Loyola on the 27th on a Monday. Then they go on the road to New Orleans, take on UNO in the Lakefront Arena. I got the Cajuns beat Nichols and Xavier. And I think that should get them a 3-2 record. Yep. Who you got, Jalen?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Cajuns also for both games. The women's team gave Auburn a fight. They really did. They almost won the game. They only lost by 6 points to a big SEC school. I mean, the loss builds a lot of confidence in this team because they know that if they can come close to the SEC school in Auburn, they know they can compete against any Sun Belt team and win. So that's boosting those ladies' confidence. I think they'll beat Nichols and Xavier both games at home. And like I said, Tamara Johnson is still here getting buckets, and Brandy Williams is back better than ever.
Yeah, I'm hoping Brandy Williams can stay healthy. She's been having a hard time throughout her career staying healthy. So if she can keep staying healthy and giving them that extra presence out there, the Cajuns, I don't think a lot of people don't really remind themselves of this. They won the Sun Belt Championship in 2021. They did. So it's something that Gary Brawlhead and them they're gonna have them ready to play. So that we'll have to see how that goes as we continue progressing on to through the season and keeping track of what the RPI and everything is going to stay here. So Louisiana Ragin Cajuns volleyball team is going to start Sun Belt Conference play of volleyball. They're the number 4 seed in the West, taking on number 5 seed in the East, Old Dominion. Now, if we look back here, they did split this series with Old Dominion here earlier in the season here. So they're in that game. It was a very good competitive game. The Cajuns had 60 kills, and Old Dominion had 39. Errors 31 for the Cajuns, 23 for Old Dominion. Attempts 151, and Old Dominion had 142. Hitting percentage was 0.192 for the Cajuns, 0.113 for Old Dominion. Points 81 to Old Dominion's 55. That was during one of the games that they played. So this here is a split series here. They dropped it. Old Dominion won the first of those games. Cajuns went back and won 3-1 over that one. So we'll see what happens here. I got the Cajuns actually winning this one here over Old Dominion to go take on Coastal Carolina, the number 1 team in the East here, which it's gonna be very tough on the Cajun to win that one because that is gonna be brutal. I do think they do fall to Coastal though. I don't think they'll get out of the quarterfinals. I'm hoping they do, but I just think they'll fall in the quarterfinals to Coastal. Who you got, Jalen?
Yeah, I got the Cajuns going against Old Dominion. Cajuns on a 3-game losing, not losing, I'm sorry, 3-game winning streak, and Old Dominion's on a 4-game winning streak. 2 teams middle of the pack when it came to the Sun Belt standings. I think the Cajuns will beat Old Dominion, but it gets interesting because they'll take on number 1 in the East, Coastal Carolina. I know they're having a great season. They're 12-0 in the division, 13-3 in conference, but they are on a 3-game losing streak. So I mean, if the Cajuns can beat Old Dominion and they catch Coastal at their weakness while they're on their losing streak, the Cajuns could possibly pull out a win. I think Coastal's going to take it still, but you never know. I'm not going to sleep on the Cajuns.
Hey, you should they call them the cardiac Cajuns for a reason. It's a very good nickname to have for them. But yeah, so I think they'll fall to Coastal. I'm hoping they get past it, obviously. Hope that we can bring home another Sun Belt championship Lafayette, Louisiana. So I think that covers everything. I think we went through a blitzkrieg episode here, man. We covered 4 different teams here. That's a lot. Uh but thank y'all for tuning into the Fishbowl Radio. We'll see y'all next time here on the Fishbowl Radio. We'll have an update to Louisiana Education football team. How did they do against Troy? Men's basketball team, did they beat Wright State? And all them other ones here. So we'll see what happens. But let's keep it tuned here at the Fishbowl Radio. Have a good night, Fishbowl Nation.